If you've ever watched Narcos or any other drug cartel related content, you must have come across names like Pablo Escobar and El Chapo, the legendary drug lords who were known for their extravagant lifestyles and crazy spending habits. These guys would blow millions on most exotic and luxurious things you can imagine. For instance, Pablo had a whole private zoo at his estate in Colombia where he had everything from lions to hippos. And then we have El Chapo, who carried a diamond-encrusted pistol with his initials on it, wherever he went. But let me tell you, there are many more where these guys came from. Welcome to the new video of our channel, Richtastic. Today we're going to talk about El Mencho, the most wanted man in all of Mexico. His real name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, and he's the leader of Jalisco New Generation cartel. El Mencho is notorious for his ruthlessness, and his cartel is responsible for some of the most gruesome acts of violence in recent times. This guy is so dangerous that the US government had placed a $10 million bounty on his head. Can you even imagine what someone could do with that much money? The life of a drug lord is certainly not one to envy, but it's intriguing to learn about the insane things they can afford to do with their money. So we all know that many people get exposed to a certain lifestyle from a young age, and that's exactly what happened to Cervantes. He dropped out of elementary school just after 5 years when he got a job taking care of avocado fields. But these just weren't any old avocado fields. They were owned by the Millennial Cartel, which used to be one of the most financially powerful drug cartels in Mexico. Now you might be wondering how tending to avocado fields led to Cervantes down the path of becoming a notorious drug lord. Well, his early exposure to the workings of the cartel likely played a huge role in shaping his future. It's crazy to think that such an early experience can have such a massive impact on someone's life. But that's the reality of the situation. The story of El Mencho's rise to power is pretty wild. It all started when he was just a kid and his family was involved in trafficking marijuana. They were all sneaky about it, hiding the drugs in fruits and whatnot. And little El Mencho was right there in the thick of it all. As he got older, he moved up the ranks, from plantation worker to watchman to full-on trafficker. But he had bigger dreams than just detailing and dealing in avocados and weed. So he hightailed it to Northern California, where he started to get involved with heroin and methamphetamine gangs. He was determined to build up his network and make a name for himself. In his younger years, the individual in question began making regular journeys to Mexico and the United States, often using different aliases to avoid detection. Among the monikers he employed were Roberto Sagalo and Miguel Valadez. At the age of 19, he was apprehended by San Francisco law enforcement for possession of stolen property and for carrying a loaded firearm in 1989. This incident, however, did not deter him, and he was arrested again in San Francisco for drug trafficking. Following his arrest, he was deported back to his home country, but managed to re-enter the United States for a mere 3 years. Despite being banned from the country, he continued the nefarious activities, and in due course, he and his brother Abraham were caught carrying out a heroin deal. This time around, they were apprehended on federal drug charges in California. After being convicted, he was sentenced to serve 5 years in prison, with 3 years of those being spent at the Big Spring Correctional Center. Following his release at the age of 30, he was deported back to his home country of Mexico. Despite a setback, that he continued to pursue his criminal activities and quickly became involved with the notorious Millennial Cartel. He rose through the ranks quickly, eventually becoming a full-fledged member of the organization. His ascent began with a role in the assassination squad, which provided protection for the infamous drug lord, El Maradona. However, his criminal career was not without his setbacks. He was arrested by Mexican authorities in August of 2003. Coinciding with the Valencia family's exile to Jalisco due to pressure from rival cartel known as the Rosettes in Michoacan. Nevertheless, the individual, who now went by the name Mencho, managed to relocate to Guadalajara, where he formed an alliance with the powerful Sinaloa cartel under the leadership of El Chapo. Back in 2009, things were looking bad for Millennial Cartel when the leader, Oscar Nava Valencia, was arrested. And that wasn't the end of it. Less than a year later, his brother El Tiger was also caught. But fear not, because El Mencho stepped in to try and pick up the pieces. Unfortunately, not all members of the cartel were keen to take orders from El Mencho. The once powerful Millennial Cartel was split into two factions: La Resistencia, the Resistance, and Los Matazeta, the Zeta Colors. These two groups battled it out for control of territory in Jalisco. The Zetas killers, led by El Mencho, used propaganda to try and gain an edge over their rivals. They denounced the resistance for extorting ordinary people, businessmen, and even government authorities. In the end, the Zetas killers emerged victorious, and the group changed its name to CGNG. As the leader of CGNG, Mencho rapidly expanded his criminal empire. The group went from being a small-time operation to one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Mexico. Mencho himself became one of the most wanted men in the country. The CJNG crew is currently one of Mexico's most profitable criminal gangs ever. Yep, the government estimates that their organization is worth around $50 million in total assets. It's crazy, right? And get this, their leader, Mencho, seems to be the only one getting better with time. One of the reasons for this success is his ability to adapt to changes in the market and consumer preferences. When Mencho noticed that people were less interested in methamphetamine, he switched his production to heroin, which has surpassed heroin as the deadliest banned drug in America. El Mencho's success can be attributed to his remarkable discipline. Unlike other drug kingpins, he avoids alcohol and drugs and makes sure to steer clear of his pitfalls. He maintains a strict exercise regimen, which helps him stay in excellent physical shape at all times. El Mencho prefers to keep a low profile and seldom appears in public, choosing instead to reside in secluded compounds that are virtually impenetrable. The CJNG is notorious for its use of extreme violence, including acid baths, hangings, and even cannibalism, with some of these gruesome acts being posted on social media. The group is also adept at corrupting officials and eliminating those who pose a threat to their operation. In fact, just 3 years ago, Kyle Mori, the head of the DEA team, asked with finding El Mencho estimated to his net worth at least $500 million, and possibly over $1 billion. El Mencho prefers to remain out of the public eye, unlike notorious drug lords like El Chapo. So El Mencho isn't your big city type flashy rich guy. He's all about power over money, even though his business is worth billions. You won't see him rolling up in fancy Lamborghini or heading up expensive restaurants, but don't get it twisted, he's still got it all. A report by Univision spilled the tea that authorities have seized a bunch of El Mencho spots in recent years. He lost some swanky cabins in Mexico's Pacific coast, over 100 Japanese restaurants, shopping malls, and even some real estate. He is always on the move and never stays in one place for too long. Rumor has it that his second security circle is even bigger than the first one. He's got some serious loyalty going on too, with men who would die for him in his inner circle. One of his top guys, El Mencho, is in some deep trouble with the law. He's led the defendant in federal indictment that accuses him of leading a criminal enterprise and continuing it. On top of that, he's charged with conspiring to smuggle large amounts of drugs into the United States using firearms and drug trafficking. He's also got meth trafficking charges from a 2013 federal indictment in Mississippi hanging over his head. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to El Mencho's criminal empire. He's managed to evade, the capture and continue his operations despite all the heat on him. In fact, 2 years ago, it was reported that he was suffering from kidney disease and built a whole hospital just for himself in the village of El Chueto. Talk about living large, eh? Recently, there have been rumors circulating that El Mencho passed away due to respiratory issues while receiving treatment in a private hospital in Guadalajara. However, there hasn't been any significant or official confirmation of his death. Either way, this guy is considered one of the most dangerous drug lords in the world, and the authorities are always on his tail trying to make him take down. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for more videos.